I do not want to hear anybody upset about Daniel Jones's deal. I do not want to hear it.
Get him
I
in
know
the boat.
people are saying it's too expensive. Why are you paying him like he's a top-end quarterback? Why he's the 8th highest paid per AAV, and because we haven't seen the full deal yet, in the National Football League. He's not worth that.
Get the gas.
It's the market, dude. Forget about what he's worth or what he's not worth. The Giants, Joe Schoen in particular, who will speak this morning at around 11 or so. We're efforting to get him, but we'll see if that comes to fruition. But Daniel Jones is worth so much more than what we saw on statistics last year. The 15 touchdowns, the 5 interceptions, which led the league, by the way, in fewest in the National Football League. Turnover percentage was significantly down. Daniel Jones is a creator, both as a playmaker for the talent in the wide receiver room, which wasn't elite last year. We know this. Richie James got better as the year went on because the ball was put exactly where it needed to be every single time, and Richie started catching him instead of dropping him. Isaiah Hodgins, who they picked up off of waivers from the Buffalo Bills, turned into this, I don't want to say elite player, but a very good player for the New York Giants because Daniel Jones connected with him immediately. Hell, he led the team in touchdowns. He was only here for 6 games. He is the captain of this team. He's one of the hardest workers that you'll see in the Giants in their locker room. He is smart. He can grow. He's moldable and he's humble. He is the guy you want to lead your team. And when I think about what Joe Schoen did to get this deal done, yes, I know it sounds enormous. $82 million guaranteed, essentially $94 million guaranteed over his first couple of years. He's got the option to get up to almost $200 million. What Joe Schoen is doing is putting a leader in his locker room and saying, we are galvanizing around this player. Everybody believe in him. And I love that because the other options aren't exciting. Go draft someone else. Go try to find another, veteran. I don't love those options. I love what Daniel Jones has started to do and what he can become. And by the way, he's only 25 years old. And you want to say, oh, he's just a middling quarterback? He's much better than middling because of what we saw at the beginning of the season. First of all, the 5 come from behind victories. And then when it mattered most, when the Giants had to go to Washington and beat the Commanders, when they destroyed their way through the last couple of weeks of the season, get to Minnesota, he plays unbelievable and wins a game that nobody would have expected him to do. You got to give him credit and believe in the upside. That's what they're paying for. And look, in the NFL, you take risk. The Baltimore Ravens are taking a risk. They threw the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. They might lose his ass. The Giants took a risk, but it's a calculated one on a 25-year-old kid who has so much upside left. So stop screaming that you hate the deal because he got paid so much. It's what he's a quarterback in the NFL. That's what happens to quarterbacks in the NFL.
He's also a quarterback in the NFL who won one divisional game a year ago. I mean, I like Daniel Jones. I don't have a huge issue with it, but he is, 21, 31, and 1 as a pro. Circumstances. There's a lot of reasons for that. I get that. I'm not even really here to refute what you said because I largely agree with you. But of the 21 wins, 7, I think, were against Washington, who have been utterly inept. Let me now flip it this way, all right? Get into the nuances, the numbers, whatever. The numbers are the numbers. You can always play around and do different things, whatever. He's young. He is good. He is ascending, and he's a leader. So from that point of view, I like it.
Yep.
But outside of, say, now, Aaron Judge, maybe nobody has a bigger spotlight on them in this city.
No, you're right.
Not Derek Cole. Not Shesterkin when the playoffs start. Not Randall or Brunson when the playoffs start. Not Verlander. Not Scherzer. Not the kids. If Volpe makes the team, he now jumps to the front of the list for now it's go time. Now it's pressure time. And now it's dissection time. And I do think, listen, I think this about Daniel Jones for sure. If you go into a situation, whether it's a late game in December, whether it's a playoff game against a really good team, not like the Vikings, like the Eagles, I think if they construct this roster in a way that is just much better, plain and simple. I don't think Daniel Jones is ever going to sabotage it. I don't. I think he's good enough. I think he's certainly past that. He's hit a few checkpoints. I believe in him. But I also don't believe that Daniel Jones is the kind of player, nor do I ever think he necessarily will be that guy who rolls in with a B-minus type of a team or even a B type of team and beats a team with an A roster. And that's the difference. He's good. He's good. Nobody's sitting here saying he's not good. He's obviously good. And by him doing this and him bending a little and the Giants bending a little, they keep their leader. They keep their star running back that every Giant fan wanted to keep. I know, and by the way, very classy move. As soon as this went down, Saquon drops a tweet. Congrats, brother. So, I mean, that's good for Daniel Jones, not necessarily good for Saquon Barkley. But the Giants have a lot of work to do, and but the pressure now is it's just a different scoreboard for Jones, and I think he'll be equipped to deal with that pressure. But now he's got to win. You can't go 1-5-1 or 1-6, whatever the divisional. You got to roll into Dallas. You got to beat them. Mm-hmm. Now the Eagles come into your crib. You got to beat them. The Commanders, don't give me ties. You got to smack them. Like, you have to win these games, and you got to be the reason for winning these games. That's the way it goes.
And as they build the team correctly around them, get them some help up front of the offensive line. Let's not forget 70+% of his dropbacks against the Eagles in the divisional round, he was pressured.
No question. He had nothing around him.
It was a ridiculous situation. Mm-hmm. I think that gets better as Evan Neal goes into a second year. Andrew Thomas is already one of the top tackles in the NFL. They build via draft or depth or free agency because now they have some space. Now we keep talking about how much space they have. I don't know why it just never registered in my mind. But they actually have about $7.5 million more coming to them because of the
Kenny Galladay. 6.7.
Yep, $6.7 million. They're going to get put on this cap. And so with his contract, which we haven't seen the full executed contract yet, so we don't really know what the cap hit is, but Ian Rappaport, our buddy Rappaport, is reporting it's around $18.5–19 million in cap hit this year. You throw on the Saquon Barkley, that's $30 or so million, with around $50 million in total. You take 11 for the draft picks. There's about $15 or so million.
More than that. It's actually about $21 million that they'll have to spend in free agency.
$21 million, and that's not counting some restructures or any other things that happen that they'll be able to spend in free agency, which is exciting. There's some players out there. Now, the next step.
But you don't want to build through free agency.
That's
the problem.
No, you want to
accent. That rarely
you
works.
want to accent.
Yes.
Well, it worked for the Jets, but you want to accent through free agency. The next thing is they need a no-doubter A+ wide receiver.
Yeah.
And maybe they find that in the draft, or maybe they trade for that. I don't know how they do it. But that's the next step, because once that happens, you're right, BT, the excuses go out the window for Daniel Jones. It's not, hey, you got a different coaching staff this year. You really don't have any talent around you. Oh, you're just learning this new system. Like, all of that goes away. And I have the utmost faith that Daniel Jones is going to thrive given the pressure that he's been given.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. So that was close, man. We had to go pick up our baseball bat for the season. So I was listening to Craig and Evan on the way to where we went in New Jersey. About a 30. With traffic, it was more like an hour drive. So I'm waiting. And then we get the news. I'm like, okay, they got it done. I feel bad for Saquon, but you've got to trust the direction of the Giants' decision makers. And by the way, Joe Shane's going to speak at 11 today. Daniel Jones around 10:45. So we'll carry them both home of the Giants here on the Fan. We will carry Jones's presser and Joe Shane's. We're actually trying to get Joe on the show as well. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but we will definitely carry their press conferences. Listen, at the end of the day, and I know that sometimes with teams like the Eagles eventually and Kansas City, champions over the years, they get penalized for being good at their jobs. Like, you identify young talent, you draft it, you develop it, you coach it up, you win big. Everybody starts picking at the roster like parasites, right? So
guys want to get paid.
And I don't begrudge them. And teams overvalue champions, and free agency's appealing as a quick fix, and usually it doesn't work, as we documented. So far, so good for the Jets, but usually fool's gold. But you do. This is the essence of building a team the right way. I know that Shane didn't draft them. I know that Dable wasn't here for the first couple of years, all right? But the Giants, are now doing what you just want to see as a fan. You have a kid at the age of 21. He comes in and, he flashes early. His rookie year was good, as we've said, very good, as we've said many times on the show. Some bumps and bruises for different reasons. Really not his fault. Although, actually, putting the ball in the dirt was his fault. But he corrected that, self-corrected. And now, if things go well and things go right, you've got a guy who is a dual threat and big and strong and fast and has a good arm as the kind of guy you want lead your team. Now they got to build around him. They've got to do their job more. Yeah. But credit to the Giants for getting this done, and credit to Jones for coming down a little on that ridiculous $45 million target that was obviously floated for a while. I'll tell you this, though. Now I'm going to be the bad guy. Not intentionally, because I said this yesterday. Wasn't my prediction. It was what I would do if I was the Giants. And if I was the Giants, I would have done what the Ravens did. That's what I would have done.
Which is non-exclusively
take the quarterback, see what the market is. By the way, most of these teams already checked out. Falcons said, nah, we're good. Raiders said, nah, we're good. Texans, Colts, they're drafting somebody, you know that. So unless the Jets whiff on Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think will happen, nor have I ever thought that. Woody, just stay out of the way. Let us use the plane. Get out of the way, dude. All right, let the big boys talk. Let them talk football. You just gas up the jet and stay out of the way. There's really not going to be much of a market for Lamar, so maybe this was actually the right move. But it just takes one team to bite, and I was always very intrigued by the Giants getting 2 first-round picks. But I'm not going to keep lamenting it. You know where I stood yesterday. I respect the Giants. I respect Jones. I would have done something different.
It's interesting when you think about what the Ravens are doing compared to what the Giants did with Daniel Jones, because while Lamar Jackson is making less money because he's making $32 million on the franchise tag. And again, that number could get adjusted, but it's around $32 million on the franchise tag. It's a 1-year deal. If he signs if there's another franchise tag, it's probably going to be let's say 120. So it's going to be, I don't know, $38 million next year. So essentially $70 million or so for Lamar Jackson over the next 2 years. The Giants just added a premium on top of it by guaranteeing about $82 million of Daniel Jones' salary. So it tells you that they value Daniel Jones for their team more than the Ravens value Lamar Jackson for their team. And it's crazy to think about because Lamar's got an MVP.
Imagine saying this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just imagine saying that 2 years ago.
Lamar was one of those guys we were saying, oh, yeah, he's getting 50.
I was jealous. As a Jets fan, I'm like, God, why can't we ever get a guy like this?
But it's clear that all of those intangibles that you talk about with Daniel Jones, which is being there, fighting, being a leader, being a really good passer, even though he doesn't get enough credit for it because people just look at his numbers and say, oh, he's only got 15 touchdowns. He's a terrible thrower of the football, which is the farthest thing from the truth. All of those things were valuable to the Giants. But they still only they guaranteed 2 years, right? If it's off in 2 years, you move forward. You start again. I think Brian Dable and Joe Shane, they have the equity the last 2 years if things go awry with Daniel Jones, which I don't expect to happen. Lamar Jackson, I didn't think about this until I heard this on I think it was an Athletic podcast. Sub 210 quarterbacks, they just don't make it.
You mean weight-wise?
Weight-wise, because they get hurt. It just is what it is. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get banged around. You don't make it. There's really been 3 of them, and Lamar is one. And the only reason you say he's one is because he won an MVP already, and he's only 26 years old. The other is Michael Vick, and we know what kind of player he was. He was so far ahead of his time back in the early 2000s. And I forget the third. It was another smaller.
Was it Montana? I mean, Montana doesn't look more than much more than 210.
It was a smaller 5. I forget who it was. I'll look it up. No, it wasn't Drew because Drew was thick.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though he was short.
Okay.
But
there's one other guy.
Sub 210 quarterbacks don't make it. And so the Ravens in their minds are probably saying, well, that injury issue with Lamar, I know he's been really good, but he missed so much time over the last couple of years. Daniel Jones doesn't have that concern. Because he's big, he's strapping, he's an athlete. He learned how to stay healthy last season. They're prepaying the belief that he's going to grow into a top 5 or 6 quarterback. And I can't fault him for that because that's what I see when I watch Daniel Jones as well.
You've said that for a while. 877-337-6666 inside of Our Town Fair Tire studio here on the Fantiki and Tierney Show. You always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Let's start hammering these phones. Daniel Jones going to speak in about 30 minutes. We'll carry it for you here on the Fan, and then Joe Shane will speak right after that. We'll carry that on the Fan. Let's get Greg in Rahway. What's happening, Greg? How are you?
Hey, PT Tiki. Good morning to you
Good
guys.
morning, man.
Hey, Greg. What's happening, bud?
It's all about Daniel Jones. I was kind of mad at him because I always heard that $45 million a year he wanted. I wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So with this contract, Giants made out great.
Yeah, they definitely did.
I think that's a fair contract.
It is, because it allows him to grow into whatever the back end numbers are. You know, they could be $50-something million. Who knows? But it allows him to grow into that number. And if he doesn't get there, they can move on after 2 years. That's the beauty of the deal. I know it sounds exorbitant because Daniel Jones is not worth $40 million a year, but the 94 that he got guaranteed is only $3 million more than Ryan Tannehill got guaranteed 3 seasons ago. And the salary cap was $198 million 3 years ago. Now it's $224. So he didn't get overpaid. He got paid what I think he deserved.
Commensurate with his talent and the market. I agree with that.
And by the way, is he better than, because right now he's sitting at 8th. Is in your mind, is he better than Dak Prescott is right now?
Yes. Right now, Dak looks broken.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have said that a year or so ago, but right now, no question.
Exactly. And Kirk Cousins, who he outplayed
close.
But it's close.
But if Kirk had a defense, Kirk's going to win that game.
But my point is, it's close.
Well, I would even say Kirk's a little better throwing the ball. Also has Justin Jefferson.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, but Kirk's put up big numbers.
Whatever it is, it's commisserate. It's close.
It's there. It's in the neighborhood.
And so he's significantly younger than Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
I mean, to me, the number he's at is he's 8th in the league. If you said, evaluate Daniel Jones, I'd say he's probably 8, 9, 10 in area. So he should be paid that way. And there's future upside. In 2 years, this deal is going to look cheap. I promise you. Because the quarterbacks are going to be making $50 million, not just Aaron Rodgers, but all these guys. Because Trevor Lawrence is going to get broke off. Joe Burrow is going to get paid. Herbert's going to get paid.
Mahomes could get restructured. And throw his AAV way up over. Like, all these guys are going to – Daniel Jones' contract is going to pale in comparison to where the market is going for quarterbacks. I don't disagree with that. Patrick's in Melville. Patrick's on the Fan. What's happening, Pat? How you doing today?
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right,
good.
Actually, I called at the beginning of the year when I was saying that Daniel Jones was probably, not a franchise quarterback. And listen, he definitely made me, take pause. He did a great season this year, no doubt about it. But I personally think the Giants are going to.
Why?
I just think that
you think they're going to regret it, but why? But why?
Well, when you think about it, wait for a second. You're saying that Lamar Jackson's like injury prone. Daniel Jones, this is the first year that he's not had an injury, and now you guys are all of a sudden extrapolating that.
Yeah, but timing matters. But hold on, Patrick. Timing matters. Why did Joe Flacco get paid $100 and something million? Because he played. He played on his contract year and won a Super Bowl. I hate to say it, but it matters. If you have a great year on the year you're supposed to get paid, guess what? You're going to get paid. It doesn't matter what previously has happened. And Daniel Jones proved that he could stay healthy, not turn the football over, and be an elite leader for this team. So it mattered that he did it in his contract year after, by the way, they told him, go earn it. We're not even picking up your fifth-year option. Think about how demoralizing that would be.
Yeah,
you're a top 10
tough
pick. And new regime comes in. Well, we really like you. Let's have a conversation, but we're not picking up your fifth-year option. Go earn it, kid. Right? He did it because he earned it because of the timing. Timing is what it is, right? Lamar Jackson, his timing sucked. If Lamar Jackson would have been healthy all season long.
Well, some people think he dogged it.
Exactly.
So maybe the timing was not as unfavorable. He just elected not to play.
Whatever it is.
Which is even worse.
If Lamar Jackson had played the back end of the season, and by the way, they won double-digit games, and he missed a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
If he had played the back end of the season and taken the Baltimore Ravens to the AFC Championship game with an inferior defense, no receiving weapons, trust me, Lamar Jackson would have a $50 million guaranteed contract per season. That would have happened. The timing of how he played it out, whether it was intentional or not, worked against him. And so the Baltimore Ravens have no immediate blueprint to say, yeah, you're worth whatever we're going to pay you. They are saying, man, we don't know if we really trust you, dude, for a lot of reasons. That's why Lamar is on the franchise tag. And Daniel Jones got paid $82 million in the first 2 years and $160 over 4.
All right, 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. Danny Jones going to speak at 10:45 today. We'll carry it for you here on the Fan, home of the Giants. We got Joe Shane right after that. He'll expand on, I'm sure, he's not going to get too personal, but we'll get a little bit of a timeline, how close it was to maybe not happening. All right, so here's the question now. Quarterback's back, running back's back. How do the Giants build out, aside from the draft, who do they target? How do they get more explosive? What are they doing to just become a better team aside from bringing back their best players from a year ago? We got you on the Fan till 2. It's a Big East tournament day as well. A little fun with that. Cashman actually looks worse today. I'll explain that for you. And we'll and obviously the Rodgers stuff. We're keeping an eye on that. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.